Alright guys, hear me out. When I first read Boruto chapter 67, I actually didn't think it was all that bad. But after reflecting for a couple of days, I completely changed my mind. There are so many problems with this chapter and some of the preceding ones as well, and we're going to go off on a rant about it because it kind of leads into some of the problems that the Boruto series has been struggling with, and one of those is going against previously established lore in order to force a certain outcome to happen, and I'm going to use this chapter as an example of this. But when I'm all done explaining all the problems I have with the chapter, I'm also going to offer some possible solutions that the story could have taken that, in my opinion, would have made way more sense in this chapter and also would have made the story better. So let's start with Boruto in his whole near-death situation. I've already mentioned this in my chapter review video, but Boruto technically never died, he just came extremely close to it, and that's why Momoshiki was able to heal him. And if you're confused why I say this, go watch the video because I explained it for several minutes. But regardless of whether he died or came close to it, it doesn't even matter. The fact that he even found himself that close to death instantly after Kawaki hit him is completely absurd when you compare it to most similar injuries in Naruto and Boruto. Let's start with Boruto since that's a series we're talking about anyway. Remember Garo? The guy who fought Kawaki when he was introduced, and we got that awesome anime episode where Kawaki uses his Ninja Tag Air Jordans. Remember what Kawaki did to this dude? He did the exact same attacks he did against Boruto, only he was even bigger against Garo, even in the manga version and especially in the anime version. And Garo? He ain't special. He doesn't have any healing factor from the karma, yet he was still perfectly alive after that, and he was able to sit there and beg Kawaki to spare him before Kawaki blew him up. If fucking Garo can survive that attack, why the hell does Boruto immediately go into a near-death state? It's fucking Garo. He's not special. Why do we even introduce karma as having regenerative powers if we're never going to use them? The only thing we've used it for so far was to heal a bruise on Boruto's hand. Why even introduce it if it ain't jack shit? Which is it? Okay, let's look at Naruto characters now. Remember when Obito got stabbed by Kakashi's lightning blade and he had that giant hole in his heart, yet he was perfectly fine? Or when Naruto was stabbed by Sasuke's Chidori in part 1 and he just healed it up and kept fighting? Or when Neji had all those holes in his body from Kidomaru's arrows in the Sasuke retrieval arc? Or when Sakura or Tsunade got stabbed several times, but they could regenerate using mitotic regeneration with the Byakugo seal, which, by the way, was said to be similar to the Karma seal. Or when Minato used the Reaper Death Seal, which kills you, and then he got stabbed by Kurama's claws, but he still lived for several minutes to talk to Kushina and Naruto. Or when Kushina had Kurama ripped out of her, which kills you immediately when you get a tail piece extracted from you, except for Uzumaki, that's what allowed her to live for a little bit, and then she restrained him, and then she got stabbed by his claws, and she still lived for several minutes to talk to Minato and Naruto, okay? Boruto has Uzumaki genes too, okay? They applied to Naruto, because he was able to survive for a little bit after Kurama was ripped out of him for the same reason, and he was half Uzumaki, so surely they should at least somewhat help Boruto. Like I've said before, Minato and Kushina must be rolling in their graves because their good genes clearly skipped over Boruto and must have gone only to Himawari. So why is it that Boruto is down for the count immediately when almost no one else in the series has had the same issue? Except for Haku and Rin, okay? They're the only named people in the series that die immediately after a Chidori. And while Boruto didn't die, he would have if Momoshiki didn't directly help him out. But my point is that shouldn't have even been necessary to begin with. Boruto shouldn't have needed Momoshiki's help. He should have been able to cling to life with Uzumaki genes, and the karma should have slowly healed him a little bit, and then maybe eventually Naruto takes him to Sakura to heal him up completely. And now this brings us to Momoshiki too, okay? Some of what Momoshiki says makes absolutely no sense at all, okay? So first of all, the karma process was explained to be an automatic process back in chapter 46, the manga. So why is Momoshiki even able to manually control the data extraction? Okay, because according to Momoshiki, Boruto's DNA was rewritten into 82% of Momoshiki's DNA and 18% of Boruto's DNA remained. And so the Karma Seal still had 18% of Momoshiki's DNA inside of it. And so what Momoshiki supposedly did was he took that 18% Momoshiki DNA inside the Karma Seal and he converted it into Boruto's DNA in order to heal Boruto's injuries. To describe it in a little bit different way here, it's kind of like Boruto's injury basically made him lose 18% of his body. And so Momoshiki had to convert 18% of himself into Boruto in order to replace what Boruto had lost. Okay, so maybe that sort of makes sense if we just ignore the karma healing factor that I've mentioned a million times already. Except there's still a couple of problems. For one thing, how and why is Momoshiki even able to do that? If he can just convert his data into other people's data, why can't he do the reverse to overwrite Boruto and resurrect himself immediately? What allows him to just convert data willy-nilly like that? And why can't he go and then rewrite that data back into his own later on? So, okay, maybe Momoshiki can convert people's data, but he still has to let the karma extract over time. So maybe he converted his data into Boruto's, and then the karma has to extract that data onto Boruto like normal, okay? If so, then why did Boruto heal so quickly? The karma extracted practically immediately. Like I said before, the karma process is supposed to be an automatic and gradual process, but Momoshiki says that after what he did, the karma has finished extracting since he converted his data into Boruto's. So that means Momoshiki can speed up the karma extraction? If so, why the fucking hell does he and Ishiki wait around for years letting the process take forever if he can just extract it faster like that? And if he can't do that because it's automatic as was already mentioned, then why has the karma finished extracting now? That doesn't make any sense. Why didn't it take time to heal Boruto's wounds? If that's the route they want to go, it should have been like, 6 months from now, Boruto's wounds would have healed and he'd be resurrected. That would have made a little bit more sense, okay? And then it gets even worse. Momoshiki says that, rewritten or not, it started off as Otsutsuki data originally. So there's no change in the fact that all 100% of the Otsutsuki data has finished extracting. Which means, you are now a pure, genuine, complete Otsutsuki. This makes absolutely no sense, okay? Besides the whole it's finished extracting part I already mentioned, it still makes no sense because if Boruto is still 18% Boruto, a regular human, since Momoshiki converted 18% of his data back into Boruto's, that means 18% of Boruto is not Momoshiki or Otsutsuki at all. It's Boruto. So how is he 100% Otsutsuki? Sure, he says it started off as Otsutsuki data, but it's not anymore. Still, that makes no sense. It's not Otsutsuki data, it's Boruto's data. Now, maybe Momoshiki's lying about some things so that they stop trying to find a way to stop him. Maybe he thinks if he just pretends it's over for him, they'll ease up and he can take over Boruto more easily. Honestly, I hope that's the case, because if we assume what Momoshiki says is true, and now we can't resurrect Boruto anymore, this is just a totally anticlimactic way of eliminating the biggest threat we've had in this series. Like, there was no sacrifice at all, Boruto just had to want to die, and that's it. Problem solved. That's bullshit. Momoshiki better not be done as a villain. Like, if he goes and becomes a friend, or just not really much of a villain in the near future, I'm gonna be pissed, because the last couple of chapters proved that Momoshiki was becoming a worthy Boruto villain. So if we stopped the Momoshiki threat, then this is a garbage idea. I'm not sorry about that at all. It's garbage. Hopefully there's more to it though, and he still has something up his sleeve. And now let's come to Shikamaru, okay? And actually, it's not so much just how he scolded Naruto in this chapter, so much as just how they fucked up his character overall in Boruto, okay? When you think of Shikamaru from Naruto, what do you think of? You think of strategy. You think about a guy with over 200 IQ that's got the move behind the move behind the move all planned out. Yet in Boruto, has Shikamaru even come up with one single strategy at all? Like, maybe he does in the novels, I'm not sure, but in the manga and anime, I can't think of a single time we get a multi-step strategy for Shikamaru. In fact, all I can think about is how they purposefully made him look stupid next to Amado, and they're just banking on the fact that he's smart from Naruto. Okay, and Sasuke looks way smarter than Shikamaru now, and back in the day, that would be debatable. People would probably say Shikamaru's smarter. But, this is literally Shikamaru's whole character. He's a lazy guy, but a strategy genius. So if we're not going to give strategies to him, and they keep making him seem dumber than he is, then yeah, they're ruining his character. That's not his character. He's not an idiot. They're not writing him correctly. I don't like the whole idea about Amado mind controlling people, but I almost have to hope it's true because Shikamaru's character just doesn't make sense anymore. So that's it for the rant. So the things I liked in this chapter was mainly just Naruto's human emotional reactions and Kawaki's just emotionless mind state, the way he's looking at Ko, talking that shit and stuff. So how do I propose we fix this chapter, okay? It's gonna fix those problems, and it's gonna actually capitalize on the things I already thought were good. So there's several options we could take here, and we don't even have to rewrite the entire Boruto story to do this. Like, literally, a couple small changes, and it will make way more sense, and I think it's way better, okay? So let's start with Shikamaru, okay? This is an easy fix, okay? Going back the last couple of chapters, all we really had to do was let him come up with a strategy with Naruto, and let them start to implement it. And then Momoshiki can pop out unexpectedly, and that's what messes up the plan, since obviously, like, Shikamaru just didn't expect that to happen, okay? That fixes most of it. And when Shikamaru's talking to Naruto, like, let's have him just give wise words to Naruto like he did when Jiraiya died, rather than yelling at him. Now from here, depending on where we want to take the story, we have a couple of options, but for the sake of the video, let's keep things pretty similar to what we got, okay? If we want Momoshiki to take a step back in his plans by him saving Boruto, and we want to have Kawaki strike Boruto down for the sake of Naruto, then like Thor in Infinity War, Kawaki should have gone for the head. As brutal as that sounds, imagine the impact of this scene right here. Let Kawaki strike Boruto as he did, but then Boruto heals from the Karma Seal's regeneration abilities that we've already established. And so then Kawaki's like, I'm sorry Boruto, but there's no other way. And then Kawaki just obliterates this dude's face right in front of Naruto without any hesitation. Okay, now it makes sense how Boruto obviously dies from this, rather than contradicting things we've seen in the past. And at this moment, we can have Momoshiki be shocked and say, this is outrageous, I can't have my vessel die like this. And then we make a slight alteration to the whole Momoshiki karma situation. And this change will be that once the Karma Seal recedes into Boruto's hand and then dissipates, that's when Momoshiki's soul will instantly extinguish. Not necessarily just when Boruto dies, but when the Karma Seal recedes and dissipates. So then, we're gonna have Naruto holding Boruto's headless body, completely freaking out in despair and shock at what Kawaki just did, which is only gonna further increase the mental conflict Naruto had about Kawaki as his son versus what he did to his other son. And in that time, we'll have Boruto's karma slowly receding throughout the chapter. Okay, then we keep the whole Kawaki versus Code thing, and like I said, we'll have Shikamaru try to calm Naruto down in a bit of a better way than we had, okay? And then, just before Boruto's karma fully recedes, Momoshiki stops time again. And this time, we're actually going to get an explanation about what the hell this ability is and how it works, because as far as we're concerned, this sure would have been useful in his fight versus Naruto and Sasuke if this is something he can just do whenever he wants. But anyway, now Momoshiki uses his PhD in chemistry to regenerate Boruto's head. But instead of the weird explanation we got that doesn't really make sense, we're gonna have Momoshiki heal Boruto in a different way that I think makes a little bit more sense, okay? So what we'll have Momoshiki do is, he's gonna reverse the karma extraction, okay? Rather than normal, where Momoshiki's data extracts onto Boruto, it's gonna like reverse it. The data that Momoshiki extracted is gonna go back into the Karma Seal, and Boruto's data will go back onto Boruto's body. And this is what's going to allow him to regenerate his head to resurrect Boruto. Okay, it's kind of like the Karma Seal in the sense of you overwrite data so that you can resurrect a body. Essentially, Momoshiki is just going to undo it so that Boruto's data overwrites the half Momoshiki, half Boruto body to resurrect Boruto. And he does this all before the Karma Seal fully recedes, as I mentioned earlier. Now, why do I think this makes more sense? Like I said, the Karma Seal, to begin with, allows one to resurrect. So Momoshiki using that logic to regenerate Boruto, it's not that ridiculous. It makes sense, and it's similar to how the Karma Seal works anyway, just as I kind of laid out here. And now this way, Boruto's karma extraction is going to be returned back down to like 0% or 5%, something really small anyway. And so rather than just eliminating Momoshiki, what they're going to do is they're just buying time, okay? Extra time. Now Boruto's around 0%, and the Karma Seal is going to redo its thing all over again, and he's also got Amado's pills from the get-go, and so now they have way longer to figure out how to deal with Momoshiki. But he's not done for good altogether. Personally, I think these changes are similar, they fit into what Boruto's series is trying to do, but it would have made both way more sense, and it would have been more impactful for the series with everything it's going for, specifically with Kawaki. Think about how just emotionless and detached he would seem after doing something like this. But I do want to hear from you guys. Let me know what you guys think about this alternative version of Chapter 67 in the comment section below. Do you agree with my problems with the chapter, and do you like my version better? Or, be honest, do you prefer how the chapter was done originally? As always, guys, thanks for watching until the end, and I do want to remind you that you're already in Itachi Tsukiyomi, so subscribe, leave a comment, like the video, and hit that bell icon for notifications. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye!